Hey, good morning. It's coffee chat time with Jane and
Heather, whoops.
Heather. Cheers.
Cheers.
Yay. So today we are celebrating our fathers. And because it's Father's Day, so happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. And we're going to talk about life lessons that we have learned from our dads. And to be honest, I know nothing about Heather's dad, so this will be interesting. How are you doing, Heather?
Doing good, doing good. It's actually International Yoga Day, and it's also National Indigenous Peoples Day. So I celebrate all of those things today. Did my yoga this morning, and I celebrate all of our Indigenous peoples that are my friends. Yeah, and I say yes.
Okay, celebrate.
Reconciliation, truth and reconciliation. So
Wow.
Father's Day so much, but yeah.
I didn't know that. So what was interesting is that New Life for Haiti, that group, I posted something in the Compassion Project because I loved what they had up there. It was like celebrating all fathers, those who were with us as we entered the world, and those who came into our lives and made a difference. So it's not necessarily your birth father, because some people have from adoptive fathers to just men that have stepped up and made a difference. And then also all the fathers that have passed, because so many, it's not always a happy day because lots of times you've got a father that has passed away, and it's the lessons that they have left that we can pass down to grandchildren, and so important. And I'm grateful that my dad is still here. Dad, I don't think he's watching, but he might after. He's 87, and it's been a journey, that's for sure. And I'm just blessed he's here. What about your dad? How old is he?
He is 83. He's currently living in Ontario, been in the military for much of his life, and is now leaving Ontario to move to British Columbia in about a week. So going to be closer than he's been since I was 17. So it's going to be interesting.
Wow.
My dad was, like I said, in the Canadian military for years and years and years. So my lessons from him are like a spillover of what it was like for him in the military and the standards that the military has. So basically it was things like high standards, right? If you're going to do anything, you're going to do it the very best that you can, spit and polish, and also because you move a lot in the military, he helped to teach me how to make friends. So I can talk to people anywhere. I could meet people because of that. So I'm thankful for those two lessons. And one other that I was thinking about today was, don't say anything nice. If you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all. So I spent many years of my childhood not talking.
So was your dad really strict?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So it would be like jump, and it was, how high, sir? Anyway.
Oh my goodness.
Those were some of the lessons. Although if you had to ask me what was the most important lesson, I would have to say forgiveness.
Oh, look at Heather. Number one lesson of my dad, forgiveness.
So I didn't speak to my father for about 8 years. And when we did finally get together, I invited him to my house for a meal. And he basically talked to me about my mom, and because they divorced when I was 17.
So you didn't speak from 17 to 25?
No, it was after that. It was probably like 30 something. So 8 years in between, like once I turned 30. When I became a single mom, there's stuff that happened and things that, conversations we had that didn't go well. Anyways, so 8 years not talking. I invited him to my house. He came up from Ontario, and we had a meal and we talked, and what he said to me made, a huge amount of difference in how I felt about him. And we decided we would have a new relationship. So from that day forward, we forged a new relationship based on the facts that now, that he was willing to admit some, some things that he could have done, could have done differently in his relationship with my mother. And so
Okay.
I was able to forgive him, and we have forged a new relationship moving on. So
Oh, that's good.
yeah, so I'm excited that he's moving to Salmon Arm and to his old roots where he grew up for many years. So very happy for him. Yeah. So
Oh, that's good.
you forgiveness, you had that on your list too?
Yeah. Well, if anyone's watching and you have a lesson from your dad, put it in the comments. I'd love to hear what is the number one thing that you feel something you learned from your dad. So forgiveness was the first thing I wrote down because I was really thinking about it. I always felt like I was super close with my dad. He was a really fun dad growing up. I mean, I was the middle daughter, so got into a lot of trouble, but he was always there, waiting if I was like past my curfew and all that. And I don't know if I learned life lessons when I was young, but as I've gotten older, and you and I were talking before, but I feel like sometimes we think our parents know everything and they don't. And it's a forgiveness on both sides, my side to forgive him and him to forgive me. So the reason I said forgiveness is I'm really admire my parents because they had a pretty tough marriage. And I think when I was around 17, they were close to splitting up. They went through, they almost split up. They went through a lot. And the biggest thing, and I'm so grateful for this, is that they were able to look at their life and decide that they actually wanted to stay together and experience being grandparents together. They didn't want us to be bringing their future grandchildren to different homes because they really were close to splitting up. They were going through a tough time, and they could actually see the future and plan that we want to be grandparents together. And they are the most amazing grandparents and now great grandparents. And they're like best friends, and they've been married for 61 years coming up.
Wow.
And I admire that they were able to forgive things that they had both done in their marriage. And it taught me a huge lesson to be able to forgive. And my parents say, you don't just forgive and then part of you holds on to it. Like you forgive and you let it go. When you forgive someone, you truly forgive. You don't go back to the past and bring up stuff. And they've been able to have a really good marriage. So it's really helped me in so many ways, right? The forgiveness. And then the other thing is commitment, being super committed. My dad's super committed. Once he makes a decision, committed to family, committed to like working out and his health. And so that's a big thing too. Like I remember every day my dad doing like push-ups, sit-ups, working out. He's got great posture. He's in great shape. He eats healthy. Like at 87, he's amazing. And so I got that from him. I do 30 push-ups, 36 push-ups every day before I shower. So for 2 years, I've been doing that. And I thought that's ingrained in me from him. Yeah. And then finding humor is the third one. He finds humor in everything. He can laugh at everything. And I think that's really helped him throughout his whole life. You've got to laugh, right?
Humor. Yeah, we talked about laughter last week, right? So
yeah, it's so good. He is funny, and he can just laugh at life, and so which is really important.
And when you were talking about that, it's not just your birth father; it's the fathers, other people that have come into your life. When I was 17, I moved in with my aunt and uncle. I moved from Ontario to Victoria, and I moved in with my aunt and uncle. And my uncle became my dad. He was and still is an amazing father and role model, and a most gentle man. And I love him. I call him my Uncle Dad. I love him so much because, and it's just, he's just amazing. And I think the lesson that he's taught me is unconditional love, because 17 is a hard age to have somebody, a teenager, move in with you, and all the trials and tribulations that we've been through in the past. It's over 40 years now. So Yeah, he taught me unconditional love. So I cheer to my beautiful Uncle Dad today too. So
Aw, that's so nice. Yeah,
yeah.
I think the men as role models are so important. They really are. We always look, daddy's little girl looked up to your dad, like idolized my dad. I always wanted to like marry someone like him, and I love seeing him, my dad, as a grandfather and then a great grandfather. Like just so much joy, and I think it's so important right now to do videos. If your parents are aging, sit down and do a video with them. So, and this is just advice for anyone. If your dad, like, if I don't think, how am I going to say this? Life goes by so fast and it's so busy. So I think it was last Father's Day, I wrote 20 questions for my dad. And I got together with him on Father's Day, just him and I, for coffee. And I said to him, I have 20 questions for you. And I said, I don't want to talk. I'm just going to ask questions. And I asked him, what was your childhood home like? What do you remember your best memory of your mom, of your dad? I had all these questions. What do you remember the day you met my mom? Do you remember? And I wrote them all down, and I filmed when I said to him, do you remember the day you met mom? And I filmed him, and I have it forever now. I mean, you can't, to take the time and sit face to face and just ask them 20 questions, you'll never get that back. Like to sit and actually the stuff you don't know. Yeah, so I am so happy. I did that with both my mom and dad.
Oh, that's a great idea. Wow.
Yeah.
That how I bet you there's nothing like that. I mean, there's nothing like that. I mean, what an insight into who he is as a person.
Oh, so many things I didn't know.
That he is, right? Because of who he is. Oh my God.
Because you think about it, you get together with your parents or your dad and you visit and you've got kids and grandkids and you're busy, but to actually sit for 2 hours and be like, what was your childhood home like? What was your best memory? What was your funniest memory? What was it was really cool. Anyway.
And, when you did mention that the fathers that have passed, I know that there are a lot of my friends are having a really hard time this week leading into Father's Day and today. So I would like to say that my heart goes out to you, and I feel for you that you don't have your dad here with you, but like you said, Jane, they're always with you in your heart. If you can just maybe take some of the lessons, take some time today to think about those lessons that you carry with you in your everyday life now that your father perhaps imparted for you.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I asked my husband yesterday, I asked him that question because his dad passed away. And I said, what lesson did your dad teach you? And he thought about it. He said, he taught me to take your time to do things right. Like to not rush something. Like if you're going to do something, do it right. And my husband, like the way he does things, whether it's cleaning his car or doing the dishes, whatever it is, working his job, when he was a pilot, he did it. He worked so hard, like never rushing anything. So I thought, oh, that's cool. It's a cool lesson.
I like that.
To take with you.
I like that.
Yeah.
So are you seeing your dad today?
Yes, we're going to do a social distancing picnic at my sister's. So picnic blankets down, keep the distance, but we're all getting together.
Beautiful. Sounds like a great day.
All right. Well,
I hope to see my son today for Father's Day just for a little bit, because celebrate what a great dad he is. Like I gotta say that I'd like to take a little bit of kudos on making my son a great father, because I was a single mom. So, to the single moms out there doing double duty, cheers to you. Yahoo!
Exactly. Yeah. And my husband, just seeing him as a dad, oh my goodness. I'll never forget the day I gave birth to my first daughter, because when I was dating Ed, he was always saying he was missing something in his life. He'd almost cry when he'd get emotional about just thinking he was missing something. And when our daughter was born, Amber, his first child, he held her and he looked at me in the hospital and tears poured down his face. I was only like 22, he's had a baby, and I'm like, what? And he's like, he looks at this baby, and he looked up at me and just emotion, and he goes, "This is it." And I said, "What?" I didn't understand. He goes, "This is it. This is what I've been missing." Now, it is? I was so young, and I was so like, "Oh, that's the missing piece," because he was this young guy that was looking for more or purpose or something, and he was so emotional about becoming a dad. And yeah, it's been amazing to watch him as a dad and a grandpa. I love it. It's amazing.
It is a total privilege to be a parent and to raise children and grandchildren.
Yeah.
Anyways, Jane, I guess we should run and wrap this up today. So
happy
have a
Father's Day to all the dads.
Cheers, everybody.
Okay, bye.